Aras 5.
Follow us as we bring you into the courtroom where the biggest financial scandal in Malaysian history is being heard. By the Malaysian Insight, this is the Najib Razak 1MDB trial, and I'm Patrick Teo. The prosecution's ninth witness, former 1MDB CEO Shahrol Halmi, once again told the court that he had carried out instructions given out by fugitive businessman Low Taek Jho, or Jho Low, because he believed that it came from Najib. Najib's lawyer was trying to show that the former Prime Minister was a victim of Jho Low. But Shahrol, in his previous testimony, told the court that the nature of the relationship between Najib and Jho was symbiotic, a mutually beneficial one. He had also testified that Jho acted as Najib's proxy in all matters pertaining to 1MDB. This despite the fact that Jho held no official positions in the company or in the government. After a 3-week break, Najib Razak's 1MDB trial resumed this morning at the Kuala Lumpur High Court. As usual, the former Prime Minister was accompanied by his aides. Najib went through the motion of getting his temperature recorded and sanitizing his hands before being allowed into the court. While waiting for Judge Colin Sekera to arrive, the former Prime Minister took a seat at the public gallery. When the buzzer sounded, he went into the accused dock. Former 1MDB CEO Shahrol Halmi was back on the witness stand, and Najib's lead counsel Shafi Abdullah continued his cross-examination. Shafi goes through the conversion of the Murabahah notes into equity in Petro Saudi Oil Services Limited, or PSOL. PSOL was a subsidiary of Petro Saudi International, and purchasing the equity was part of the process in repatriating 1MDB's investment in the joint venture with PSI. The lawyer suggested that there was no discussion of the conversion of the Murabahah notes by the board. Shahrol disagreed. He said there was no physical meeting, but the members of the board were informed via circular resolutions. He added that Jasmine Liu, 1MDB's general counsel, had briefed each board member individually about the steps to be taken for the repatriation of the money. Referring to the director's circular resolution relating to the conversion of the Murabahah notes, Shafi observed that the circular was worded and prepared in a way that made it difficult for the board members to understand the true value of the investment. Shahrol agreed with the lawyer's observation, but said that he was not part of the discussion. The discussion was between Jasmine Liu, officials from Petro Saudi International, and Jho Low, he said. Shafi then concluded that this was a mechanism to hoodwink the board, and Shahrol agreed with him. If the whole board can be hoodwinked, can I ask you whether the Prime Minister or Finance Minister would be in a position to be wiser than the board? Shafi asked the witness. Shahrol replied that he cannot comment on that because he doesn't know if the Prime Minister was privy to more information. After a short break, Shafi continued grilling Shahrol about the conversion of the Murabahah notes. He points out to Shahrol that the latter had previously mentioned that there were time constraints in the conversion of the Murabahah notes. Shahrol agreed. He said there was no time to call for a board meeting because Jasmine Liu and Jho Low were rushing it, so he just went along. The reason why you were in a hurry was because you needed to conclude it before the financial year ended, Shafi pointed out. You had to restructure because otherwise you had to justify the value of the Murabahah notes. It was like a magic show. Who was behind this? The lawyer asked. Jho, Shahrol replied. So it wasn't Dato Sri Najib. The whole board was hoodwinked and you were part of this, Shafi accused Shahrol. The witness disagreed. I acted on instructions and action plans given by Jho Low because I believed that the instructions were coming straight from Najib, Shahrol said. The lawyer then said he was very perplexed by this. Contrary to the prosecution's case, what you have testified is that Jho Low is the shadow director of 1MDB and not my client. Everything Jho Low said, you carried out, Shafi pointed out. Only because I believe that he was acting on behalf of the shareholder, Shahrol replied. After lunch, Shahrol was back on the stand. Shafi was not done grilling him. This time he asked the witness about a company called Brazen Sky Limited. Brazen Sky is another special purpose vehicle incorporated in the British Virgin Islands and was managed by Jasmine Liu and Terence Gay, who was 1MDB's chief financial officer. Brazen Sky was set up to bring home to Malaysia investment funds from PSOL. Why was Brazen Sky set up for the purpose of repatriating 1MDB's money instead of just transferring the money straight into 1MDB's account? Shafi quizzed. It was because, Shahrol said, Jho Low told him that the market conditions were unfavorable for them to liquidate all of the units at once and proposed that the liquidation be done gradually. Shafi then suggested that if Shahrol was taken in by the impression given by Jho, surely even the finance minister, Najib at the time, could have been influenced. But before he could finish his sentence, Shahrol cut him off and simply said he cannot comment on that, and neither can he refute the lawyer's claim. Before adjourning for the day, Shafi informs Judge Colin that he has 3 more phases to cross-examine and will take another 3 weeks to finish Shahrol's cross-examination. And with that, proceedings ended for the day and will continue tomorrow morning. This podcast was brought to you by the Malaysian Insight. It is produced, written and mixed by Revati Srupamaniam with additional reporting by Beat Hong. I'm Patrick Teo.